Folks, Enda here, joined by Stephen Poacher for another week. Obviously, we're touching on the matches the last day in terms of the Dublin, obviously Dublin Mayo, Derry Cork, our man and Kerry and Tyrone. So it was an interesting weekend of football, I have to say. But Stevie, how are you getting on? What's the story?
Yeah, not too bad, and but more importantly, how are you after the private messages and all you were getting? Rate Kerry fans, bullish Kerry fans, bullish
well,
Kerry.
look at when I'm wrong, I'll admit when I'm wrong. But as someone said, I didn't realize Kerry got so excited over a quarterfinal victory. But
No, listen, look, they were obviously they were a dog with a bit between their teeth. Like, they obviously had been seasoned by some of the criticism that has been labelled their way. But look, we weren't on our own end in sort of questioning. We had our doubts about them. But one thing for me was the level of defensive intensity that Kerry brought. Without their intensity out of possession of the ball was the highlight for me. And that's something that can be sort of, people look at all the sexy stuff, and they look at Clifford and they look at the scores and they look at the goals, but you can sort of gauge a team's performance by the level of defensive intent without, how hungry they are without the ball. And Dublin, I think Ray Boyne had a tweet up after the Dublin game saying something like Dublin had 127 efforts to tackle or hook or block or whatever he described it as, in comparison to Mayo 63, which we'll talk about later. But Kerry, I would love to have seen the stats from Kerry's game, as regards the tackle count. They nearly done the Tyrone, what done to them a number of years ago. And that real defensive animal that was in them last year. Paddy Tally brought a steal this last year, a real stubbornness defensively. I know in days gone by it's been called puke football, Nordy style, Ulster mentality, blah blah blah. But Kerry relabeled it last year as tracking back and working hard. So that's what it's called when you have 13, 14 men behind the ball now. But but on a serious note, they had a real aggression about their play. But at the same time, Tyrone were below par. And I know Tyrone people would be the first to admit that they were below par. But I do think, and even if Tyrone had brought probably their best performance of the year, I still think they would have failed short on Saturday past.
What do you think, Stevie, in terms of, look at, I'm very sure this is a stat that tells the tale of the game, and Tyrone had 19 turnovers. Look at that's a bit of two sides there, as you said there, ferocious tackling that Kerry came on Saturday, and then obviously Tyrone's poor execution in terms of the basic skills of the game here. But that stat just kind of shook me. Like 19 turnovers is just incredible for an intercoach game.
Yeah, look, it is like if you have 19 turnovers at club level, you'd be disappointed, and look, it's a wee bit like roles reversed. So go back to 2020, 2021 when Tyrone won the All Ireland, the COVID year, where the competition was delayed because Tyrone took COVID. But in that year, and what you had a prime example of everything Kerry done wrong. Solo the ball in the contact on Tyrone's 45. Tyrone broke at pace. Peter Hart broke with the ball. 2 passes later, it was slipped to McKenna, who's back in Australia now. He went round the keeper and slipped it into the empty net. One of the goals that McShane scored as well, over the top kick out, flicked on, Kerry left exposed, and those were probably elements of the game that Kerry learned an awful lot from, a couple of seasons ago. Not getting caught in Tyrone's spider web. That was the big thing. But even then, I didn't even think that Tyrone did anything defensively to really ask Kerry any questions, and that was probably the most disappointing thing from a Tyrone perspective, that didn't really see that edge, but didn't really see that Tyrone-itis that you would probably call it, where they bring that real, dogged mentality. And look, in every team, and particularly on Sunday, sitting watching the 2 games on Sunday, I went down to Croke Park on Sunday and I was watching the 2 games, and like the level of physicality in Dublin's forward line is frightening. The Tyrone forward line on paper looked scary, and it looked a real potent attacking threat, but not outside of Matty Donnelly. No real huge out and out, massive ball winning potential there. Probably forwards that could do damage, but probably need a mixture of maybe a ball winning forward. You look at the physicality in the for example, of Clifford there and his ability to win ball and things like that. So, but look, the big men for Kerry stood up, and Seanie O'Shea had 1-5, 1-3 from play.
Yeah.
Damon O'Connor had 1-2 from play. Clifford, albeit he was held to 2 points from play, but still had a major influence in the game. But look, Kerry will be very, very pleased with their performance, and they'll be going into the semi-final now very, very confident.
I will say, I don't think, obviously it was very comprehensive, and in the end, I know I'm gonna half dig myself a hole here. I don't think, look, they're going to face Derry the next day. I don't think Derry are going to give them turnovers. It's going to be a more structured game. Look, if a Kerry person would be lying to us here if they really felt confident going into that quarterfinal there against Tyrone. The signs all year weren't exactly positive in terms of they had a very slow start. But look, there's numerous ways to win Northern Ireland. In terms of, I remember back to 2009 when Kerry were started very slow, and then they had a massive win against Dublin in the quarterfinal, and to really kickstart their season. So, look, it's Jim O'Connor, as you mentioned there. We're on about the midfield. Look, at open country, no better. The two of them are absolute greyhounds. Gazelles going up and down the pitch, huh?
Diarmuid O'Connor's athleticism, has always been of highest level. He's always been a huge threat athletically through the middle third. The likes of Gavin White and Paul Murphy are really, really aggressive attacking half-backs. Tom O'Sullivan can attack as well. He can drive forward, and look, they have that, and then obviously they have the superstar, and this is the point I've made to you as well. You have King Kong, you have Clifford, and you have Shane McGuigan. In the last four. Monaghan obviously have an aging Manzi, but he's still a phenomenal, a clutch moment man, for even the free right at the death, the free he executed as well in front of the, a man for all seasons, and owes Monaghan football absolutely nothing. But every team that's in the last four now has that real standout marquee forward, and we talked about it earlier in the year, and we had a bit of a laugh about our top four or whatever, our top five forwards, and we probably would have had, three of those, players in the top five, and that's what separates a team. And people, it's brilliant having, defensive organisation, etc., but if you don't have the forward power, there's not really much you can do. And I think the way the game's evolved, I just think you need 16, 17 scores now, to win big games,
I actually think the two of us had, I don't know what in order, but Clifford, Con, and McGuigan in the top three. So it's just an interesting point you said there, is in that it's no coincidence they're in the top four now, the last four coming into it. So look, it's
things happen out of nothing, they can,
yeah.
It's not even just so much what they're doing on the ball, it's what they're doing off the ball and what they're doing to the opposition off the ball, in that they're directing one of the best defenders. So, for example, next Sunday, Chrissy McKaig will 100% go to Clifford, and, when Derry lose possession, there'll probably be another +1, floating about in that vicinity to find where Clifford is and to spot his runs and maybe cut out marks, etc. So, you're occupying the opposition in more ways than one. And it's not even from a scoring threat that he might hurt you from. You know what I mean? He's creating space for others, like Seanie O'Shea with 1-5 the other day. David O'Connor with 1-2. Maybe all the attention all week, all the talk all week is Clifford. So it takes that sort of superstar forward to really make you a contender now, I think, Andy.
So Tyrone didn't really go ultra defensive, Stevie, either. Maybe it was the turnovers that kind of threw me off in the telly, in terms of they just maybe they might have just got +1 at the back, but I suppose when you're turning over the ball so much, you're kind of chasing your own tail, you're facing your own goal and running back the way. So it's obviously going to be hard to defend.
Well, there was a very interesting interview 3 days ago from Brian Dooher. The exact quote from Dooher was that Kerry play football the way you want to play football. Now, that's all well and good saying that, but if you don't have the players to play that particular brand of football, you have to find ways to win. And I just think Tyrone are better when they find ways to win, in their own unique style. Tyrone, throughout the years, have always been regarded as, defensively organised first and foremost, and then build from there, just like Derry have done over the last number of years. It's been a defensive template that they've built out from, and now they've obviously added their offensive game as well. I know it's slow, it's methodical, it's maybe hard in the eye, but all they're interested in is winning games, and I don't think anybody in Tyrone would have cared if they had to get over the line 12-11 on Saturday past. If it had been the worst fucking game that we've ever fucking seen in Croke Park, I don't think anyone in Tyrone would have been complaining. I don't think anybody in the Tyrone panel would have been upset, but to come away with such a massive defeat, like it makes you think probably as a group then, and maybe individually and collectively, just we're as far away as a lighthouse here, and that's hard to regroup from, it really, really is.
Yeah, like look at. I suppose is it any coincidence too, Stephen, that 3 out of the 4 teams that have been 3 weeks in a row here are out of the championship? Like that's another, in terms of, even look at obviously Mayo the last day and Tyrone, really high intensity first half, but then literally started the second half they kind of fell apart, and just slowly, gradually the two teams just kind of drifted away from them here. If
You could perceivably argue that Armagh probably should have shaded that game, based on the chance they created, and based on the fact that they probably will deem themselves unlucky with the timekeeping and stuff, which is an issue, and we can chat about that when we come to that game. But 100%, I think we chatted about it on the show last week. It was very, very hard to foresee and what was actually going to happen. It was extremely hard, in fact, to predict. Would it be the team that's coming in with momentum be in a better position than the team who's coming in fresh? But it obviously shows that you have rewards, and rewards are worth finishing top of the group, because you have that 2 week window then to prepare. So I think teams now moving forward next year, it's not a format that I particularly like. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like it. I've said this before. I feel very, very strongly about it. I think that the championship is championship. There shouldn't be a league and then a championship and then another league. I don't agree with that at all. I know the provincials, are probably coming to the end, but next year this format probably will be in for another year. And teams will probably look at this thinking, well, we need to finish top of the group, because finishing top of the group gives us a seeded quarterfinal, and it also gives us an opportunity to regroup for 2 weeks and get a rest and recovery and then build again, which at this level is absolutely huge,
Where do Tyrone go from here? Lastly, do you think Dooher and
I would say you have a management team in Tyrone. I would nearly bet 100% that you would have a new management team in Tyrone. They've done 3 years now. They've won in All Ireland. The legacy for those two men is in stone now. They've won in All Ireland. What more can you ask for? There's only 4 All Irelands ever been won in Tyrone. Mickey Hart won 3 of them. So they're the only second managers ever in Tyrone's history. To win an All Ireland title, which is a huge achievement, regardless of what anyone says about the circumstances and what happened. You need luck, Enda. You need luck. You need everything to fall your way. But Tyrone played some bloody good stuff that year too. And people are probably quick to forget that. But I think one of the big things from a Tyrone perspective was probably the players they lost over the last number of years, even the periphery players on the edges like Tiernan McCann, etc., who were having a big impact in games, probably just got to the stage where he just felt, I'm not getting enough football, so therefore I'm just going to stick with the club and pursue other interests, and you have to probably respect that too. But I think those type of players and they left Tyrone with a very, very what you would probably call I wouldn't say second tier squad, but a squad that probably just falls below the top 3 or 4, and to compete, as you need that depth, you need that bench, and that's a big thing. And we've seen it with Dublin the other day, bringing Jack McCaffrey and Mannion off the bench. Mother of God, if you're tiring in the last 20 minutes of a game and you see McCaffrey coming on as a wing forward, you'd be maybe looking at the line yourself for a change, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's the reality. And then Mannion coming in for a tired cornerback who's just after chasing fucking Pascal for maybe, or Costello or whatever for fucking 45, 50 minutes. So, look, you need the bench, you need the strength and depth, and maybe just Tyrone just probably didn't have that this year,